Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. Today, Chavchet B'Iyar is Jerusalem Day. It's the day when in 1967, 57 years ago, during the Six-Day War, Israel captured the old city of Jerusalem, the city that Jews have been praying to and for thousands of years, the city mentioned over 600 times in the Bible, a city to which each and every Jew has prayed for thousands of years. No matter where they are in the world, they always face in the direction of Jerusalem. And from 1948, Independence War, till 1967, on this day, Chavchet B'Iyar, Jews were not allowed to go to the Western Wall, to the Wailing Wall, or to the Old City. It was under Jordanian rule that had captured it and forbid Jews from going there. And today, actually, which added special meaning to me, my dad always reminds me that he was born in 1940 in Jerusalem. And we know the tradition, it says in the Bible that 3 times a year you go towards the temple to pray. And my father always tells me that he remembers when he was a little child, 4, 5, 6, he would go with his father, and they lived in the new city of Jerusalem, outside Bageulah, near Mea Sharim. And my father says he remembered walking vividly. He remembers walking with his dad down the steps, because he walked down towards the Kotel and praying there. And then, of course, 1948 came and he wasn't allowed to go. My father came to America in 1962. And although he's been to Jerusalem many times, I don't think he was ever there on Jerusalem Day. But this year, my parents went to Israel yesterday, and they just landed in Yerushalayim today. They landed in Tel Aviv at 11 a.m. And my father sent me videos of him in the old city, dancing together with hundreds, thousands of people, singing and celebrating the gift that Hashem has given us, the one and only holiest city, the united and undivided capital of Israel, Yerushalayim. And as we say in Psalms, if I forget Jerusalem, forget. It's like God forgetting your right hand. It's a city that connects all the Jewish people all over the world. So today's a special day. But in this week's Torah portion, talking about the temple, we read about the tabernacle, and we read about how the Jews traveled in the desert for so many years, for 40 years, and the way they would camp had a specific order. 3 tribes were to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. Each one had 3 tribes, and on the inner circle and encampment was the Levite tribe, and then in middle was the tabernacle, and they all faced towards the tabernacle. And in fact, in this week's Torah portion, the Torah speaks about each tribe and the flag they had. And each tribe had a unique individual flag with special colors that represented the tapestry of the Jewish people, because each one has a uniqueness and individuality. But then the Torah tells us, how did all these tribes come together in a united way? You know, in America, everyone thought you have to be part of the melting pot. You give up your traditions, you give up your customs, and you join the, so to speak, dream of America. But here the Torah tells us that each one had a flag and a uniqueness and an individuality. Yet, there's one thing that united them together. The Saviv la Mishkan Yachanu, they all dwelled, they all faced the tabernacle. The goal, the purpose of serving Hashem, of being a proud Jew, of fulfilling the Torah and the mitzvahs, kept the Jews united, although each one was individual, unique, and diverse in their ways and in their traditions. And that's the story the Jewish people tell today. Yerushalayim has to unite us. The focal point of Judaism. Yerushalayim representing the Bet HaMikdash, and representing the aspirations of every single Jew to serve Hashem, to love unconditionally God, and to embrace our fellow human Jews and human beings in general. That purpose encompasses and envelops us all towards the goal of Hashem. Today, in New York, in Chabad headquarters, is a sad day. Because yesterday, the vice chairman of Merkaz Aliyah Chinuch, the educational branch of Chabad, which is responsible for over 4,000 Chabad centers all over the world, their vice chairman, Rabbi Kotlarsky, who headed the Chabad International Conference and was in charge of all helping and guiding all the Chabad rabbis over the world, passed away. And he was a very unique individual. I grew up in Crown Heights, around the corner from him, and we would speak very often. Our families were close, and so was I close to his sons and daughters, the family as a whole. And I want to just share one story about him that encapsulated this idea that we just said. One day he was sitting in the office, and he gets a call, and he sees that it's the Rebbe's secretary calling him. And he immediately jumps up, and he picks up the phone, and without any explanation, the secretary says, the Rebbe wants you to go to Curacao Island, and to go now. Rabbi Kotlarsky takes a student together, and they don't ask any questions. They get to the airport, and they jump onto the first flight. They get onto the flight, and they go to Curacao, and they come to Curacao. They thought maybe someone would be waiting for them at the airport. Why is the Rebbe sending them to this little island? But there's no one waiting. So they find a taxi, and they'll go to the Jewish temple, the synagogue. And they ask the cab to take them to the Jewish temple. But instead of taking them to the big temple, the Israel temple, he took them to a small little temple. It happened to be a Sephardic temple. And when you would walk in, it was a temple of people who survived the Spanish Inquisition, and they had sand all over, and in the actual sanctuary and in the actual temple there was no floor, only sand. It was there to celebrate and commemorate the Marranos, who when they had to hide their Judaism and go into exile, they would go into their basement to pray, but they only had sand on the floor so no one should hear them walking and no one should hear them moving. And these Jews, the Spanish Inquisition, left the Marranos and came to Curacao, and they built this Sephardic temple. And as they're coming and they walk in, there's someone going out and he's locking up the temple. And he says, how can I help you? And they say, we're here from the Lubavitcher Rebbe to help the Jewish community. And the man turns white, shocked. And he says, you got to be kidding me. And he said to them that he had a son, an only son, who went to the local school. And he just got a call today in the morning that his son was missing for 2 hours. What happened? His son had refused to partake in the Christian celebrations there because he was a Jew. And the kids started picking on him. And therefore, he decided to skip school. And this caretaker said, I just came to the temple to pray and plead with the Almighty to send me help so I could figure out what to do with my son and how to keep him Jewish. And here you show up in the name of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Rabbi Kotlarsky and this other student went together, and they convinced this young man to go with them to a camp in New York, which he went to be able to support his Judaism and celebrate him. And then the caretaker asked him to send a note of thank you to the Rebbe. He didn't even know who the Rebbe was. And he says, please say that a small Jew in Curacao is thanking him for what he did for his son and for his family. And he got a response from the Rebbe. It is my pleasure, but please understand that I take umbrage with the fact that you say a small Jew. There is no Jew that's small. There is no Jew that's insignificant. Every Jew is unique and a gift from Hashem, and we're responsible one each for the other. And that's the story of the individuality of the Jews with the flags and the tribes. Yet Saviv Lamachane Yachanu, the fact that they understood that there was one purpose, there was one goal, serving Hashem with love and joy, that brought them together and allowed them to blend their differences in praise and service of the Almighty. Have a great